Hey guys, it's Lindsay and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be doing my April wrap up. It has been one heck of a month, y'all. So currently as of filming, it is May 1st. And I have completed a total of 14 books this month, which is insane to me. I did not think I was going to be able to finish that many things this month, considering it was the last month of school for me. I am not done yet. I still have a project to work on, and that is due in a couple of days, and then I will be 100% done with grad school. So that's just insane to think about at this moment. But I wanted to go ahead and talk about the books that I did end up reading this month. Like I said, I read a total of 14 books this month. Absolutely insane. Most of them are romance or variations of dark romance. I did read a couple of contemporaries, but for the most part they were all dark romance or fantasy, somewhere along those lines. So the first book I ended up reading this month was Priest by Sierra Simone. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I do have my notebook over here, so apologies if you see me looking down or looking around. But I started this book on March 30th and I ended up finishing it on April 3rd. I very much did like this book. However, it was a roller coaster of emotions for me. Poppy and Tyler are very cute and I liked their relationship, but Tyler's emotional damage that he had as a kid, very much changes how he interacts with Poppy, and I understand that as he is a priest and he's kind of ruining his career to be with her. But overall I didn't hate it. It was just a little bit predictable, and I felt that it could have been written a little bit better if given emotional maturity to Tyler. Overall, very good book. Can't wait to get to the rest of the series. So after that, I ended up reading Bound by Hatred by Cora Riley. Now this is book 3 in the Born in Blood Mafia Chronicles. I gave this book 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. This one is Mateo and Gianna's story. I am a sucker for enemies to lovers, and this was absolutely amazing. Gianna's feistiness compared to Mateo's inability to back down was just the perfect chef's kiss, and I absolutely loved it. I do not have a physical copy of this book, unfortunately, but I did listen to it on audiobook, and I read it on my Kindle. So very happy with actually finishing this book. It was delightful. Next book that I finished was Bound by Temptation, which is book 4 in the Born in Blood Mafia Chronicles by Cora Riley. Same thing, I read this via audiobook and my Kindle. It was very cute. This is oh my gosh, this is Liliana and Romero's story. This is acquaintances to lovers. This is a age gap romance. It was very cute and I very much enjoyed it. But there was some things that I could have gone without. The trigger warning for an attempted rape on Liliana. There is a couple of other things that I just didn't like. But overall, it was a good story and I ended up giving it 4 stars. Then the next book I ended up reading was Broken, which is book 4 in the Power Tools The Shields series by Jane Ryland. This is a polyamorous relationship book where it is 2 males and 1 female. As you can see from the cover, this is about Ruby, Liam, and Ace. And Liam and Ace have been a thing for a little while, but they haven't really defined their relationship. It's kind of a closed door relationship between the two of them. However, Ruby is their neighbor and she can hear everything that has happened in their apartment. And I really liked this. I thought that this was probably one of the better ones out of this series. However, I do wish that this book was longer. These are 200 pages, and even then the last chapter is a teaser of the next book. So I liked it, but just wished it was longer. All right, after that, I ended up reading Midnight Mass, which is book 1.5, which is the novella between Priest and Sinner by Sierra Simone. I ended up listening to this one on audiobook as well, as following along in the physical copy. I have a subscription to Scribd, and it was on there, so I just went ahead and picked it up. Audiobook was only like 3 hours long, so I ended up finishing it rather quickly. But I did give this 4 stars. Again, it was the jealousy thing with Tyler, and you just gotta get over that, man. Like, Poppy has a life of her own, she has a job and whatever, and he was just very jealous of her coworker, which, anyway, so that was the one thing that kept bothering me about this book, and I just ended up giving it 4 stars. But overall, very good conclusion to Tyler and Poppy's story. Alright, next book I ended up reading this month was It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This was super cute. This was my book club book for this past April, and I thought it was cute. It was steamy in some aspects. Like, you look at this cover, you don't think it's going to be spice, but holy crow, this had a lot of spice in it. I ended up giving this book 4.5 stars. There was only one thing that I really didn't like about this. It's just that I felt that Brendan had a lot of like survivor's guilt, kind of, even though like his wife passed away from something that he couldn't control. I just found that to be a little bit annoying, and then the fact that he felt that he had a duty to his father-in-law or his ex-father-in-law to continue to keep his wife's memory alive and all of that. It's just like he couldn't move on with his life. So I felt like that was overdone, maybe just a tad, and that he could have moved on more quickly than he actually did. And then the other thing was, I did not like Piper at the beginning of this book. I mean, I know she's supposed to be very bubbly, very like, you know, brain dead blonde basically, but like it wasn't cute and I didn't like it. I found Piper to actually be very smart, and the fact like in the beginning of the book that she just had to act like she was dumb in order to get friends or clout was not cute. So that was why I gave it 4.5 stars, but overall very good. I can't wait to read the second book. I might be reading it in May, but it's most likely going to be a June read. So we'll definitely see on this, and anyway, really enjoyed this one. Then the next book I ended up reading was probably my favorite book of the month, and that is Give Me a Reason by A.L. Jackson. This book gets all of the stars. 5 stars. I read this physically. It's over 400 pages. Very beautiful. The metaphors in this just have you like fawning over the characters. It was just absolutely brilliant, and I loved every second of this. I thought that Eden and oh Lord, Trent. I thought that Eden and Trent were very well matched, and that the twist at the end was not very predictable, but you kind of knew that there was something up just by some of the things that were said at the beginning of the book. Also, Gage, the little boy, Trent's little boy in this book, so cute. Some of the things that he says are just so adorable, just make you laugh out loud. So I really enjoyed this. I cannot wait to read the second book, which is Judd's story, and then after Judd's is Logan's story, and I can't wait for Logan's book to come out. So we'll see, but overall, very good book. After that, I went ahead and just read a little bit of a contemporary romance. I just wanted something light and fluffy, not really having to think about, you know, the plot and or storyline. And that I picked up was The Bromance Zone by Lauren Blakely. Now, this is a spin-off book to the Men of Summer series. So some of those characters from that original series do show up into this book. So if you have not read the Men of Summer series, this book may not make a sense to you. It is very fast paced, and if you didn't read the Men of Summer series, then this romance seems very fast. That was the one drawback that I did have of this book, is that this romance went super quickly. You're just supposed to believe that they fell in love over a weekend, even though they've been best friends for 8 years. Like, that to me was just not cute. I didn't like that part. But overall, good story. I did end up giving this 4 stars as well. So after that, I did end up returning back to the dark romance genre of things, and I picked up Promises and Pomegranates by Sav R. Miller. This is book 1 in the Monsters and Muses series. I didn't really like it, to be honest. It was very underwhelming. I gave it 3 stars. Some of the things I didn't like were the sexual assault, the just the conflict at the end was silly and unnecessary. The drama that they brought in from her family side of things with him was just unnecessary. So it was an okay book. I am planning on reading the next 2 books because I've heard that the next 2 books are actually better than this one. So I'm not upset with it. I'm just disappointed, basically. I felt like this one could have been a lot better than it actually was. And they just kind of skirted over some pretty heavy things that happened in it. And so overall, not a big fan, but I am planning on reading the rest of the series, and I did give this 3 stars. So it is what it is, but could have been great, but was just okay. Alright, the next book I ended up picking up was the second book in the Never After novel series, and that is Scarred by Emily McIntyre. This is a Lion King retelling, I guess. It was really good. I actually really enjoyed this one. I ended up giving this 5 stars as well as the first book, Hooked. And I just really liked it. It was a lot of the references to the Lion King movies were very good in this. However, I do wish they changed the names up just a little bit, because the names just being really close to the Lion King movie just made it a little bit cheesy and corny. But I really did enjoy this. I thought that the romance in this was very well done, and not done in a way that was either like gross or too cutesy. I felt like this was just done in the perfect way. So it ended up getting 5 stars for me, and I cannot wait to move on to the next book in this series. Alright, after that I ended up picking up Electric Idol by Katie Robert. I also did read this on audiobook. This is the second book in the Dark Olympus series, the first book being Neon Gods. This was Psyche and Eros' story. I actually really liked this. Compared to Hades and Persephone from the first book, Psyche and Eros were probably my favorite out of the series so far. I felt that their relationship was done quite naturally compared to Hades and Persephone. This one was just too sweet, your teeth hurt. Like, I loved this. It was so cute. I cannot wait for the third one, Wicked Beauty, to come out, and that is Helen, Patroclus, and Achilles, and I am so excited for that. I cannot wait to see what that one's gonna be. But overall, this one was very good. I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. The only thing that I didn't like was towards the end, with the unnecessary drama between Aphrodite and Demeter. Other than that, super cute and very much enjoyed this. Alright, next is a book that has been on my books that I've started but haven't finished shelf on Goodreads for a very long time, and I just decided that since my best friend had just started reading this series, that I was gonna continue on and finish it. I have not finished the series yet, but I have at least finished the 3rd book, and that is The Crown of Gilded Bones by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the 3rd book in the From Blood and Ash series. I loved it. Like, This was so good. 5 stars all the way around. Like, I listened to this on audiobook as well as paid attention to it physically. And Poppy and Castile are just like two people that have my whole heart. Like, Castile in general just has my heart. Like, I named my car after him. My car's name is Hawk. And I don't know. This series has a special place in my heart and I love every second of it. I cannot wait to continue on with the series. I do have the last 2 books, A Shadow in the Amber and A War of Two Queens, that I have to get through, but I can't wait to read this because it's going to be so good. But anyway, I really enjoyed this, and I think a lot of other people enjoyed the 3rd book as well compared to the other 2. As like the first one is my least favorite because it is all the world building and stuff, and then the 2nd book is just like the wedding and everything, and it's beautiful and I loved it, but this one right here, man, this is real good. And I'm like so happy to see Poppy like take control of her life and just kick ass and, you know, try like truly find out who she is. And I absolutely loved this. All right. And then, well, the last couple of books I read were audiobooks. I have not updated my reading journal of the last book I finished because that was literally at 11:35 last night. But the next book that I ended up starting and finishing in the same day, have I mind you, is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. This is book 1 in the Hades Persephone series that she's got going on. Let me tell you, this is probably one of my favorite like versions of the Hades Persephone myth. I loved this. Like, this is very good. This does remind me of Lore Olympus, like the webtoon by Rachel Smith, I think. Smythe, something. So good. I loved this. And I liked how Hades truly wanted Persephone to come into her own power and not believe everything that her mom said. This version of Hades and Persephone is basically the one of Greek mythology. So Demeter is very protective of her daughter Persephone, kept her away from the rest of the gods. So she doesn't have powers or worshippers at the moment, or at least at the beginning of the book. And that is basically what happened with the myth. Like, knowing that Persephone was going to become the, you know, god of death or god of the underworld's bride, she kept Persephone away from all of the other people. So this was very good. I very much enjoyed this. I ended up giving it 4 stars. But I can't wait to read the rest of these, and I think that's going to be the first thing on my May, like, to be read. We'll see. I don't know. Have not decided that TBR yet. So this was very good, and I cannot wait to move on to the rest of the series. All right. And the last book that I read this month was A Game of Fate by Scarlett St. Clair. This is the first book in the Hades saga. Now, this book is basically this book, but told in Hades' perspective. The scenes are pretty much identical. They're just told in Hades' perspective and what he was feeling. But this does also have different scenes from the first one, so you know what Hades was doing during their courtship and everything. So this I actually liked a little bit better than A Touch of Darkness. So I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. But overall, this was super good and I loved it. The steamy scenes in both of these books were done very well. I do wish though that I waited to read this after. I was told that I should read A Touch of Darkness and then read A Game of Fate and then go to A Touch of Ruin. But I don't necessarily feel like that would change your understanding of the story. I feel like if you read A Touch of Darkness and that whole series and then moved to this one, it wouldn't confuse you. But yeah, I wish I would have waited just a little bit longer than a day to pick up this one, but I wanted to end up reading one more book for this month. So overall, I'm very proud of reading this, and I do love Hades' viewpoint on this. I do wish, however, that the new books, like the Touch of Malice and A Touch of Ruin, did have both POVs. But we'll see. Like I said, I don't know yet because I haven't started them, but we'll see. So that is all of the books that I read in the month of April. Now, I did have an April TBR video put out kind of in the middle of April, and the only book that I did not read for that whole TBR was Bound by Vengeance by Cora Riley, and that was book 5 in the Born in Blood Mafia Chronicles. That was the only book I did not read from that original TBR. And to be honest with you, I'm very proud of that. I think there was 9 books total in that TBR, and I only didn't complete one of them. So I will be putting that in my May TBR. And we'll see. Because, like, I really enjoyed that series, but I just wanted to get a little bit of a break from it. But that is all of the books that I've read for the month. Like, this is a lot. Like, I don't normally read this many books in one month. And I am going to give myself a break here in May. But that's it, y'all. If you guys have read any of these books, please let me know what you thought about them in the comments below. And if there are any video ideas or book recommendations, please let me know in the comments below as well. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.